Thanks for staying with us. This is Daybreak, and the hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, and at Ayub Abdikadir. Dr. Kenneth Ombongi is the Associate Dean, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Nairobi. Dr. Barak Muluka is commentator on governance and political developments in the country, also communications consultant. Professor Kivutha Kibwana is Professor of Law at Daystar University and formerly the Governor of Makueni County and the 49th President of the Law Society of Kenya. Nelson Harvey is also with us in studio. Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. Daktari, yes, you had a point, please.
No, I just wanted to follow up from where Senior Counsel left when he was talking about the socialist credentials of Raila. Raila is the man who believed in a Kenya that is people-focused, people-oriented, and people-based. That way, he was a socialist. But fundamentally, there is a way in which he was a socialist without socialism. Yeah. I mean, Raila is a very astute businessman, if you ask me.
Also embodies some traits of capitalism.
Yeah, like his father, he was a capitalist by excellence. You know, his father started one of the earliest business company in Luo Nyanza, the Luo Thrift Trading Corporation, actually in the 40s. Raila took over from his father as one of the leading, you know, gas cylinder manufacturing entity, not just in Kenya, but in the region. But in his politics and practice, he's a man who believed in his in people's welfare. You know, we saw him talk a lot about the people's plight, especially in the last campaign. But then beyond that, Raila had these two dimensions. He could be very oppressive in his practice of politics, but also he had a stabilizing influence when he realized that the nation was moving too close to the abyss, to use the word you used earlier on. And essentially, probably right now, that is what we are likely to miss in the country. And as Dr. Muruka was saying, many people are actually jostling to fill Raila's shoes and therefore benefit from what we see as his legacy. There are people from within his party. The president has come out, really, it's true historically. He was part and parcel of actually the stalwarts of ODM. But really, that is the ODM of the time. But then with Raila's stabilizing influence in the president's current administration, probably he is the one who will miss him most among the politicians in the country. That is why he will move, I think, with speed and accuracy to try and manage Raila's succession within the party. And even during Raila's funeral, we saw this. You know, the president stood in public and said he will not allow anybody who will be playing ping pong with ODM. Of course, we will ask in what capacity he was saying that, but probably he was looking at more at the benefits Raila was bringing in the broad-based government. And he was speaking very, very directly to the radicals within ODM. I'm sure he was speaking to Sifuda, he was speaking to Orengo, he was speaking to Babu Wino, and that axis that seems to say that we are here to actually relieve Raila's struggle for justice, Raila's struggle for fairness, and Raila's struggle for opening the democratic space in Kenya. There is the other team, which seems to be on the side of the broad-based government. You know, from from Governor Wanga to CS Joho, Governor Mbadi, and the rest, because they have been the direct beneficiaries of the broad-based government. If you listened to Jim Orengo during the funeral, The same speech he gave in 1994 when we were having the funeral of Jaramogi is actually the same speech he replicated.
In the same tone.
In the son's funeral, in the same tone, oppressive, and saying, we are not going to relent. Orengo was short of saying, a luta continua. You know, if you read between the lines. So that's why I said that the political situation in the country, as the president tries to galvanize his influence and support in different regions, as he feels the void of the colossus that Raila was and the stabilizing influence that he had in his administration. And then with this, radicals who are saying we need to continue with Raila's struggle. And the group that is saying, no, we heard Raila correctly, he said we stay in the broad-based. So this is a cacophony of voices are going to characterize our politics. And it's going to be quite abrasive in the coming days and in the coming months. Kenya, we have had this character of, as a country, of course, of moving too close to the precipice and yet too far. We are going to experience.
And Prof, to build up on that, then the country today is minus that voice, is it? Because as admitted to that cause by the late Tanzanian President Benjamin Mkapa, who was in the room, he said it was until we locked out Martha Karua and William Ruto, Gishugu and Eldoret North representatives, respectively, in 2008, when the talks proceeded. He said they were part of the team that were placing childish obstacles on the way of the talks. Until now, we had to remain with Kibaki and Raila when we had managed to birth the Grand Coalition government. Minus that voice today, then, it looks, is it very foggy, the political direction, since Odinga was that voice who would then push the country from the brink, as he did in 2024 at the height of the demonstrations, when the young kids had pushed William Ruto's regime to the brink?
Well, maybe before I attempt to answer that, Ayub, I want to go back a bit to what Dr. Muluka said.
Yes, please.
About who are the beneficiaries of Raila. And I think he didn't mention that both Kalonzo and Martha, whom you have just also talked about, could claim that, you know, we were vice president, deputy...
Running mates.
Running mates. Deputy president on 2 occasions, Kalonzo for actually the longer time, and Martha more recently.
Twice and Martha once.
So they could claim, and even Martha could say, you know, ideologically, I may be closer, you know, to Raila than a lot of people. But I think the jostling that is happening is somewhat preventing them from also bidding for that kind of position. But I do agree that probably ideological orphans have you know, a real reason to claim that they want to inherit their ideological father. Having said that, I think it's also important to notice, and this has also come up in this debate, to notice that there are basically 2 Railas. There is the Raila who has come from East Germany, passed through the university, gone a little bit to government in terms of Kenya Bureau of Standards, realized that that won't work, and then he steps out to do his politics. And he believes that you can only change the country from outside. And that is why in the book that you quoted, where he eventually said that he may have been part of the 1982 episode. So he's trying to do that. And he gets into detention because he's pushing, you know, for multipartism, he's pushing for the constitution and so on. And for about 8-9 years, he is in prison, you know, without trial. His family, you know, is left on its own, including Mama Aida, also being given marching orders from Kenya High. So I think by the time Raila comes to partner with Moi, the cooperation, partnership, and even merger, I think he has decided that maybe it is time to be pragmatic. Maybe he should try to get change from within. And that is why, therefore, consistently, even when there are problems, he will push very hard. You know, he will push 2007, push very hard. But when, you know, he realizes that I've pushed enough, he will say, okay, what is on the table? Can we talk? We don't want the country to go to the dogs. And that is why he has consistently, from that time, been part of every government, although not always, apart from Kibaki's time, not always officially within government, but being able to actually wield a lot of power. So I think it is important to see him in, you know, such lenses so that we may not be confused by how come he was very radical, how come at some other point he seems to mellow and perhaps be pragmatic and all that kind of stuff. But I think from his earlier phase, he was able to accumulate enough clout so that he could push whatever he wanted to push. So now, when, of course, the young people came onto the scene, the Gen Zs, and he was able to, you know, go to the president, and therefore the young people's march to the idea of freedom was temporarily halted. Of course, they were not happy, because according to them, it was not stabilizing the country. According to them, it was actually blocking the change that they were, you know, looking for.
Yeah, and Prof, is that then a failure on the part of his party and his communication or his handlers, given that obviously Odinga was pained by the anger from the young people and his intervention? I mean, was the communication on the part of his party also problematic in the sense that they didn't counter the narrative and what young people expected, their thinking, and why they were questioning his intervention to give the present administration a soft landing spot?
I think the party kind of got confused a bit, because you could hear people like Sifuna, you know, trying to side with the young people. And you could also hear others trying to say that, you know, we need to stabilize the country. So it wasn't so much a question of communication. And I think also Baba kind of said, let's certain things happen without my direct intervention. So he kept quiet. And I think there was even talk here. Sometimes he was silent. Sometimes he would, you know, talk. But I'm sure in terms of where he had reached, it might not have been easy for him to participate in terms of causing a regime change without necessarily a clear sign of how would the day after be managed. So, of course, any great, you know, all great people have also their contradictions, their weaknesses. Yeah. So we cannot say that anybody in our situation is an angel, but one is wondering if there is now a very serious problem within the country. Who has the clout to come and tell the country, wait, you know, even to tell the country we need a national dialogue, so that the country, even the young people, will listen to say, okay, if so-and-so has said that we need a national dialogue, if you know, a group of people have said we need a national dialogue, maybe it is time for an honest, you know, national dialogue, because the issues that he has left behind are still real issues of corruption. And actually, Mama Ida very eloquently, you know, said, actually it was like her husband speaking through her, you know. So the issues he has left behind, you know, he gave us the Constitution. He was very, very central in terms of giving us the Constitution. making devolution kind of work, and the spirit of you must say when things are wrong, they are wrong. But now, given all the problems that keep on piling in our country, I think it means that ODM and all other political people and civil society and so on who want better for Kenya, he has left them with a lot of work.
And Dr. Barak, we have talked about the casualties list and the president's laying of claim to the party, of course, ahead of the elections. But without Odinga, Kenya is without a safety valve, is it?
The safety valves will always be there, whether we are going to get a custom-made fuse or whether we are going to buy from the general stores. There will be a fuse, provided that the issues, as Professor and the other colleagues acknowledge, are still there. The circumstances will birth fresh revolutionaries. When we speak of Mr. Odinga in this context, we must remind ourselves that he was not just a stabilizing factor, he was also a destabilizing factor. In fact, he had to begin by destabilizing before he could stabilize. So that I pick up the idiom of the bullet and the ballot from the council, Howie, with the variation that it's not either the ballot or the bullet. It is actually both. Without the existence of the potential of, so to speak, figuratively, of the bullet, the ballot does not work. The ballot works because there's always that underlying fear about the bullet. And as a prof says, when he has pushed and we are getting to the brink, the socialist capitalist in him steps back. I think it was Professor Mazrui who coined the notion of the Leninist Tsar with the reference to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He was a Leninist Tsar, at once thinking and behaving like a socialist, and also thinking and behaving like a capitalist. So the capitalists balancing with the socialists in the practical, pragmatic moment. So to that extent, therefore, there will be birthed others. What I'm not so sure is whether they will be birthed or they will step, in fact, they already exist. What I'm not so sure is whether they'll step out of the shadows, balancing the equation between the capitalist interests and the socialist fire-eating revolution. Because by and large, the socialist will be a fire-eating revolutionary who will even say, let us overthrow the state completely, let us even abolish it. Their notion of realizing stability is one where stability will be realized after the present order has been completely annihilated, completely overthrown. And I think that the capitalists in this socialist capitalist got to the moment where he said, wait a minute, these ones are going to overrun us completely and they're going to destroy capital. The one reason why Henry Kissinger survived and served and was consulted by virtually all the regimes in the United States of America from the 1960s up to the time he left us in 2023 was because he was emblematic of...
Even in retirement.
Yes, even in retirement. He was that one solid figure that protected capitalism. And capitalism had to survive regardless that the Republicans or the Democrats were in office. Do we have an individual who embraces and represents those two. A capitalist who is willing to go into the trenches and say that we cannot continue with this. A socialist who is able to say we cannot destroy the capital that we have made. That is the riddle before us. Yeah. We might end up in the hands of either. And Ruto, a later day, I think, pseudo-capitalist, because capitalism does not behave the way President Ruto's incursion into that space behaves. Capitalism recognizes the need to preserve institutions, institutions that then make capital work in a sober and sustainable manner. What we are witnessing is a run-lose, primitive accumulation of wealth, and one that does not respect institutions, one which could actually sink the nation by embracing excessive autocratic tendencies. Yeah. And those are the ones which I think he proposes to export into the ODM space. So leaving alone or contrasting the capitalist socialist with the other side, what we see on the other side is the possibility of unbridled autocracy.
Okay.
Maybe
yes, Dr.
If I may weigh in a little bit, is it beyond the categorizing we are doing of casualties and beneficiaries? There's also a group that seems to me to embrace both. There are casualties of Raila's absence, and there are also beneficiaries. And in mind, I have the group that Professor Kibwana described a moment ago as Raila's ideological disciples. Yeah. We have the Orengos of this world, the Mother Karuas of this world. The relevance of this group is going to increase. And this is where I have a feeling that that's why even the funeral organizers of Raila's burial were very keen not to give space to Mother Karua, because it was amazing, surprising that Mother Karua, the most immediate running mate of Raila, was not actually even given mention in that funeral, despite the fact that she was there. Except by Kalonzo. Of course.
Yeah. That's after the grievances in the aftermath of the
the politician Mother Karua will reap from that. Because they will start posturing now as the clear replacements of Raila by taking a very radical ideological stance against the establishment. Now, Honorable Kalonzo on the other side is a casualty and a beneficiary also at the same time, because as I was saying yesterday, right now, in the absence of Raila, he actually remains as the most experienced, the oldest politician that we have in the country, who has been around for quite a while, much more probably politically experienced than our president and also the rest of the politicians. It will increase Kalonzo's relevancy. That is why right now, I think Kalonzo is the most sought politician in form of wanting to make alliances. He's sought both by the team led by the former Deputy President Gachagua, and I'm sure if you listen to the president yesterday, he was directly addressing Mheshimiwa Kalonzo, saying, come. And I think Kalonzo was a politician by excellence, because if he could have appeared in that function yesterday, then given his meek and patient nature, people will say he has become part of the broad-based. but he actually did not attend. So Kalonzo's relevance will increase in the absence of Raila, in my view. Yeah. And in the next coming days and months, he will be probably the most sought politician in the country, with the people who want to make alliances and bolster their support in the absence of Raila, including the president himself.
Yeah. And Council, coming to you, in one of the lectures that he delivered in Nigeria, Odinga expressed himself on this, that Africa's second liberation, he argued that true freedom begins when leaders refuse to weaponize poverty and focus on good governance. Yesterday and the days before, the head of state has been building certain narrative, positive of course, which was lifting the country to first world status. But how can that happen then if his body had believed in such an ideology and the president wants us to take off, yet he has close affinity for awarding incompetence at the expense of political expediency?
You know, on an earlier date, Ayub, I've sat here and said, we need a patriarch or a matriarch like David Kanani Maraga to be president. And the response I've always gotten is that he's not strong. He doesn't have the gravitas to attack. And you see, therein lies the problem that we have been left with by Baba, and part of what you've mentioned in respect of this gentleman who only awards incompetence. And you know, it's very important that we have this discussion, because for Kenya in particular, the need to pick up from where Raila Amolo Odinga left and to continue is urgent. Why do I say so? Let me pick Tanzania as our neighbor. We had Julius Kambarage Nyerere, Ali Hassan Mwinyi, Mkapa, Jakaya Kikwete. Relative calm for almost 40 years. Then boom, come Magufuli. Boom, comes Lu. Tanzania looks like a failed state. You see, Sheikh Rashid said this: hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create difficult times. Many will not understand it, but you have to raise warriors, not parasites. My friend, my former friend and client, likes the presence of parasites. He doesn't like warriors. You understand? And where we are right now, we have a system that was created by a strong man, Raila Amolo Odinga. Give it to him. Because you see, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto are beneficiaries of a product they never believed in. It's truth. We need to say this. You understand? And the failure is on the part of Kenyans, because we thought the strong man who had created this system, the 2010 Constitution, will be belligerent to interfere with commerce, to interfere with certain comforts, and who are wrong. But within ODM right now, I can tell you, they are parasites, but they are also strong men, the warriors. And emphasis must be focused on the warriors. Barack Muluka has mentioned some of them. He's mentioned Edwin Sifuna, he's mentioned Caleb Abesi, he's mentioned Babu Owino. We may have our own dissatisfactions about those three, but I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, those are the warriors created out of a strong system. They didn't allow themselves to be weak because of a conducive environment. Then there are those who I need not mention, but you will see them. And they spoke time without number during the funeral of Baba and said, this is where Baba left us. We will not depart from here. Baba told us this. You know, those are the parasites. And I must always conclude with this call. Look out for the parasites. Ostracize them. Remove them. Nurture the warriors. Because Raila was a warrior. You understand? Just like General Paul Kagame. You know, many people may not know General Paul Kagame. This was a bloodied general at war. You understand? But he mellowed after maturity and creating a strong system. The system we have is near perfect, uncomparable. insofar as
institutions.
we can talk about. It's uncomparable. But all along we've had parasites put there, often by strong men, because they do not want fellow strong men to perpetuate the system. And it's incumbent upon the people of Kenya. You must ensure that we have continuity of strong men, because strong men will continue strong systems. And if systems are functional, it doesn't matter what percentage of warriors we nurture. It doesn't matter how many parasites come and interfere with the warriors. The system will function.
Yeah, and Prof, does this also mark, and what then becomes of the trajectory of what we can label in the course of this discussion as consensus democracy, from the Grand Coalition government to the handshake in 2018, to the broad-based arrangement now, of course, which is another handshake. Ideally, what does this then portend for this coming together of politicians in the aftermath of elections?
First of all, I really like that imagery or symbolism
by the council
of warriors and parasites. And I wish, all the warriors, both men and women, could congregate from wherever they are, not just ODM, from civil society, from the young people, from, all places, to come together and to say that we can't lose this country. That's really a beautiful image. And yet, one must ask, how come Raila was able to keep the warriors and the parasites together?
The parasites, Professor, need hosts.
To survive.
Without a host, the parasites will not survive. So the parasites found Raila Odinga as the host. And they are saying that this host has left us in an environment where we have found a new host. And that host is William Ruto. What happens then is what the warriors, and I agree completely, within ODM, without ODM, within the academy, within the shrine, within civil society, everywhere, what the warriors are going to do about the parasites. Because if you do not do something about the parasites, they infest the environment. And in fact, they kill not just the environment, but the host as well.
But we need to appreciate. I appreciate the analogy.
Although I've not yet.
Yes, you'll finish up.
You'll finish. We need to appreciate that the Kenyan state, over the years, beginning with the colonial state, was actually built around what the Good Counsel is calling parasites. And if you look at the transition to independence, and I use the word independence in quotes, it is the so-called parasites who took over the Kenyan state and nurtured it to where we are. The warriors have always been marginalized. And one thing that Raila did, and this is what probably historians will remember him for a long time, is actually to do a blend of the two, the parasites and the warriors, put them together and push them in ways that created some level of stability for the country. And that recognition is what goes back to what Prof was saying earlier, that what the country probably needs now, it is for the time of the warriors to take state power. And how they do it is what Raila showed us, that you can negotiate your way into the realm of parasites and destabilize them from within. And he has done that a couple of times. You remember that at some point Raila was the Secretary General of KANU. Of all the parties. He went in there with the NDP, and basically he was able to weaken KANU to the extent that it could not win the 002 elections. So he learned much earlier that once the parasites get in, it's not very easy to remove them. So you go in there and destabilize them from within. Probably that is one lesson that we will learn from Raila and the warriors, Prof, like you.
Yes, Prof, upon your point.
Muluka, he writes books. He's a man of literature, and so he extended that from council image of warriors and parasites. I wish he had also extended it to also include. Suppose there is a grand parasite and smaller parasites, congregating towards the grand parasite. What happens in such a situation? But I'm thinking, in terms of this consensus democracy, what you asked, going forward, is there a possibility that whether we are in a problem or not in a problem, we can continue to, congregate and maybe move Kenya together? That's not going to be easy because the president will not suffer people to come in and tell him what to do, because that is his character, that is his nature. So that even those in ODM, whether they are warriors or parasites, will believe that they will continue in the broad-based government. They have to know that you can only continue at the behest of the president, and for the, so that the president leads and you follow. Raila had pushed somewhat for NADCO report, thinking that if some of the ideas that had actually come from BBI were implemented, maybe there would be a structure to make the country more stable. But the problem with NADCO, the later BBI, is it is not necessarily an experiment to create constitutional stability, but it is like, if there is a prime minister, if there is a two deputy prime ministers, how do you create positions to divide them among ethnic barons so that when they are satisfied, then they tell their following, we are now okay, we are on the table. I don't think that's the solution. But earlier, actually, Raila had popularized a parliamentary system of government. He had popularized proportional representation. And somewhere along the line, I think he was convinced to abandon that kind of broader representation of people and decided that, now we should go to a presidential system. And actually, that is what made the 2010, referendum to be there was no competition with, like in 2005. So I think going forward, we should look for more the institutions that make sure that, all people, all communities, all sectors can get represented within our system, whether it's that parliamentary system like in South Africa, with proportional representation, so that even if you're El Molo, you have representation in parliament, you have representation in, either cabinet or the principal secretaries and so on. And of course, people of merit, not just anybody. So if I was the president, and of course I'm not, and even filling Raila's shoes, they are number 20 and I wear number 8, if I was the president, I would actually now step back and say, one of my greatest supporters is no more. It is not going to be easy to manage going forward. Therefore, what concessions do I make? What should I do with these young people? Can I listen to them for real? Can I make sure that they get, IDs without 1,500 shillings? Can they get registered? Can we ask what youth empowerment program, we'll have? And so you bring people together so that, therefore, it can be easier to move forward. But if that doesn't happen, I can see these warriors seeing the necessity, because politicians, if the citizens begin to say that we are getting a raw deal from the current system, then those politicians will follow the citizens. You know, you can't tell them just stay in broad-based, because they'll say, but if I stay, I'm going to be past tense. So I think actually this absence of Raila calls on the president to think more, to do more.
Yeah. And Dr. you have been very critical in the coming up with the better plan. And to build up on what Prof has said, and to ask you this, MSMEs have been the nucleus of the Kenya Kwanza administration's manifesto. But we have seen gradual transformation to the Hustler Fund in targeting the young people to access capital, and now this Nyota program. I mean, what does then this mean for a growing population minus a focus on industry and manufacturing to create decent jobs for them and to bring them into the fold? Ideally, does that address also the question of instability, where the ethnic barons are granted at the top at the expense of stability at the bottom? Why not then create that sustenance economically at the bottom and forget about this political attention at the top? How can that discourse be a reality?
I think that the better plan was abandoned soon after the birth of the new government. Focus shifted instead to primitive accumulation at the very top and within the highest council within the country. And subsequent to that, everything has been erratic experiments that one is not very sure, even the owner is not very sure about where they want to go. They want to take the country, and they will pick up Nyota today, drop it tomorrow. Empowerment fronted by Farouk Kibet and Deputy President Kithure Kindiki for a few weeks. They will drop it, move to something else. And that is because the real destabilizing factors for this government reside now not within ethnic spaces as they used to do. It resides within a population out there that is shapeless, is amorphous. It has described itself as leaderless, partyless, tribeless. And increasingly, we are seeing that it's a population that will invade any space that it wishes to occupy. We saw how it invaded the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport the other day.
Up to the runway. All
the way up to the runway and got into the aircraft. We saw how it invaded the space in Opoda. It was told you are going to stay out because now what is left of this ceremony is a private family affair. It got in, it stomped the ground, and what we are witnessing today is stomping of the ground. And this stomping of the ground is likely to transition into other things. In fact, one of the things that President William Ruto should do is to stop wasting time imagining that he's going to manage ODM, and that if he cages in the ODM parasites and attempts to neutralize the radicals, the warriors, that then his problem is resolved. No, the problem is out there. The pipe has burst. The problem that he's dealing with is outside the confines of the pipe. And I get back to the very rich idiom that we have been given this morning, in which the colleagues here are very cogently reflecting on. The space going ahead defines itself as the warriors versus the parasites. The question would be whether the warriors who get into that space are going to be sufficiently potent to cause a difference. Because if the antidote is inadequate. It's going to generate resistance within the body that it is trying to heal. We have seen that the parasites are multiplying, and that notion of host should not be forgotten. That there are people who saw Raila Odinga as a host, the parasites. And you have heard them saying, mimi baba Raila alinilete hapa na siwezi kutoka mahali ambapo baba Raila Odinga alinilete, nitakuwa hapa milele na milele. For those who don't understand, Raila Odinga, our father, brought me into this space. I was a minion, I was nothing.
Yeah.
You have not heard the parasites saying anything that is public-spirited. They are mesmerized with self-worship, thinking about where they were in the docks. When people were in the trenches, they were in the docks. From the docks, they were moved into parliament. From parliament, they were moved into councils, into counties. From the counties, some of them have found their way into cabinet. The parasitic thrust in them tells them that we have arrived. We had that host. We now have this host. It's the dolphin wave factor, where the dolphin is moving from one wave to the other wave, but basically perpetuating itself. So the question becomes whether within that space, the warriors become stronger. If the warriors become stronger, then we can have well-managed institutional transformation from where we are into the future, with the ODM being part of the equation.
Yeah.
If that does not happen, then the movement to the Kenya that the citizens yearn for will move on the power of its own fuel from outside all these institutions and entities. And if I was government, Abdul, before you flag me down, I would be very worried. If you have a population which at will manages its way onto the runway of the airport, into the aircraft, manages its way into a heavily guarded place where you are saying that the public should not come here, where can't they get?
Yes, Council. Daktari Council, yes.
No, I just wanted to reinforce what Dr. Mluka is saying, that there's a way in which the young people of Kenya have been inspired by what happened in Nepal very recently.
Lately in Madagascar.
And lately in Madagascar. And things are boiling in Morocco up to last week. When you are dealing with a country that is 75% people under the age of 35, we don't need to sit pretty and say nothing will really happen. That is why you see that many of those we are calling hosts are working towards engaging and co-opting this critical population of the country. So the future then, I'm a historian, and somebody has said that if historians can be prophets, they are prophets of the past. But if you allow me the latitude of looking at tomorrow, everybody is angling to engage and co-opt this population. And that's why I was saying earlier, when we are dealing with the state in Kenya that has historically been a product of what we are loosely calling, products of patronage. We need to explore possibilities of how the so-called warriors will organize and mobilize in ways that will continue to talk about justice, fairness, and democracy the way Raila used to do. Without that, we will be actually going around in circles. Yeah. It's just a caution I was trying to throw.
Yes, Council, before I come to Prof. and sample the feedback.
Yeah, I think I want to disagree with Barack Mluka. We don't need to correct whoever is making that mistake. Let him continue making that mistake. You know, the ticks, however parasitic they are so clever that when the blood has ceased flowing in the cow, they will fall off. You will never skin a cow and find a tick. But there is the end of the idiom. There is the hyena in the Mara, so greedy that he decided to enter into the belly of the dead buffalo. I think let them do what they want to do. In fact, let them take over ODM. Let them run on ODM. Let them be the hyena that died in the belly of the dead buffalo. That will be the birth of a new Kenya.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, just I think there is one other orphan we forgot to also highlight. Actually, two.
Yeah.
One of the orphans is Atwoli.
Yeah.
Very close to Baba. And actually was, you know, in many ways helped by Baba, even when the trade union movement was not working for him to continue in that particular position. So I think even for him, he must be a bit worried. The second orphan is Matiang, because there was a time Baba said, you know, this is my son.
Prof, the terminology has changed. Say the warrior or parasite. Or the second parasite.
No, there's another I said orphan. I'm talking about orphans. Matiang as an orphan, because there was a time Baba said, you know, this is my son, you know, allow me to take care of him, because he was trying to balance some maths during that time. But more critically, when Baba became MP for Kibera, there was criticism that he was not focusing on development.
Langata.
But part of his coming into government subsequently was also to ensure that, you know, socioeconomic, you know, rights, like development, you know, got into places where, you know, he had a lot of following, and even for Kenya. So anybody who is going to want to get into his shoes must also demonstrate that they are development oriented. I think that will be a necessary thing. And although we are coming to a close, I was wondering whether there's a third category, apart from warrior and parasites, of warrior parasites. Because I think we have to be careful of that category of warrior parasites. Parasites who indicate they are warriors, because those ones can also be very damaging. But I think that clarion call of, like the young people, there was a time some who were supporting Baba said, we will not be on the streets. But we have seen them going into the streets, and even in Kasarani, some of the young people who lost their lives were just from Kenya, not necessarily from Kibera. So I would be worried about now that confluence. And that is why I think it's very, very important to focus, among other agendas, on the youth question.
Okay.
Maybe, if I may add very quickly, actually, Prof, the tragedy that we have had in our politics, and particularly of statecraft from the 60s, is the category that you have just mentioned. Because politicians in this country have a way of reinventing themselves in talking the language that is relevant at the time. If it is the language of the warrior, they will talk that language for them to survive. When they become parasites by excellence for purposes of survival. And we have seen that over the years, that we have had leaders who have had the capability to reinvent themselves and make them relevant to any situation and any government of the day.
Okay.
That is actually the problem that probably we need to deal with. And for me, that last category of warrior parasites is the one that will determine the direction things will take from now forward.
Yeah, okay, let's sample the feedback. And Harvey, there is a question cancelled for you here from Joshua Arap Sang, the journalist. So let's start off with Jaya Musoma, who says, Talking of life after Raila, I foresee a situation where Ruto will attempt to determine Baba's successor and merge ODM with UDA in a bid to retain power. However, that will just break ODM into factions and become fodder for the opposition to defeat government in 2027. Gabi Wakasiaka says the ODM party stands on a crossroad, with one part supporting the government and the other part in opposition. The only way out of this stalemate is conducting a democratic process of leadership where all delegates will cast a vote to elect a new leadership. Babu Michael says after the death of Raila, President Ruto has done everything humanly possible and under his power to honor him. To me, maybe because of their friendship, but mainly to show Raila's political base that he is with them and make a 2027 political deal. Kiteki Michael says the death of Raila Odinga politically has two dimensions. One, end of some political careers. Two, end of ODM as a strong party. His ideologies are beyond challenge, and inheriting his political constituencies is the matrix as at now. Frank Orinde says Raila Odinga, a name that shaped Kenya's political destiny for decades as the nation inches toward life after Baba. His legacy is in the courage to dissent, the resilience to rise, and the dream of a better Kenya that never died. Go well, Jacob. We will miss you. Council Harvey, this is from Joshua Arab Sang. He says, I like the debate. Can the panelists, this is to you because you are the father of that analogy, tell who Ruto was before becoming the president? Was he a parasite in the Uhuru government or a warrior? Was President Ruto's defeating of the system from within an act of warrior or a parasite?
I think Barack Mluka has his work cut out. He'll write a very elaborate article, which will come out on Saturday or Sunday. And Barack, I've given you the assignment.
I think you can talk about a parasite that goes into disguise, behaves as if it's a warrior, only for people to discover its true character when it's already full-blown and it's already out there. And you are looking now for the antidote. And I think when Odinga got into that space, he was basically insinuating himself into the broad base as the antidote that would destroy the parasite from within. Perhaps the antidote was not sufficiently potent. And when it's not sufficiently potent, the parasite becomes stronger. So we have to find something stronger to deal with the parasite.
How perhaps amelewa hiyo kitendawili.
Thank you.
Kama hajaelewa sauri yake.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Professor Kivutha Kibwana, Professor of Law at Daystar University. Thank you for your time. Formerly Governor Makueni County. Dr. Kenneth Ombongi is a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. Council Harvey, the 49th President of the Law Society of Kenya, was also with us. Dr. Barack Muluka, also Communications and Leadership Consultant. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and your very weighty input into this subject matter. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to you too for waking up with us here on the broadcast. Up next is Social Hour with Safina Chiengom. And we'll see you tomorrow morning here on the broadcast. Till then, good morning.
The drums have slowed, and even the lake holds its breath. They say the wind stopped singing last night, and I'm like, well, there's still no ripple, no light. Father Bull of Bando has gone to rest. The storm has carried home its best. He walked through fire and never turned. Spoke of freedom and bridges burned. Dark, tall and strong like a bull in a storm. Through chaos he carved a nation's fall. When the lake went silent, we heard his name in the tide. Raila, the voice of the wind, still calling from the other side. He stood tall like truth in disguise. Now he sleeps but his spirit will rise. Oh, oh, oh. voice of the